What do you think the difference is between V17 and V18 now that you've done 4 V17s?
That's a good question, and I suppose it's something we don't know the answer to technically yet. But what I think is what like Adam did with Silence in the sport grade, so the jump between 9B plus and 9C, I think it has to be the same in Boulder. I think it has to be a clear step above V17. So it couldn't be, someone goes digging and gets a lower start of Sleepwalker or Return the Sleepwalker, and they're like, oh, this adds like a 8A into it. I think it would have to be like a bigger jump, because I feel like that would be something that would be achievable if you just put enough time and you're at the right level. It would slowly come together. I think it has to be like a clear level above, which I don't really know how to describe that, I guess, if I actually trying and finding. But the climb that I was trying in the Peak District this summer, the fact that I've put so many sessions in now and I've still not done all the moves, and the thought of linking even two of them, like just the crux move, I've not been able to link into or out of yet. So like that's kind of where I'd like to imagine the sort of level would be, is that instead of the sort of the time it takes you to put together the V17 is maybe the time it takes you to even like start figuring out the moves of the V18. I think it should be like a big step above, so that it's
Wow.
just like a clear difference, and then from there we can start filling in the gaps and working out actually, maybe it's hard 17 or maybe it's hard 18 or something, and over time you get to fill in the gaps, which I think is what we're starting to do now with V17s and 16s. I think there's still probably quite a lot of the difference between them needs to be ironed out a bit, because I think in the end the grades end up quite like close together, the bands, but to begin with they should be like, you should be able to see a separation.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it may be that the first V18 is hard, a hard 18, so that it just essentially has enough of a gap, enough of a separation between the 17.
Exactly, yeah. um, yeah, I just think it should be very, like, it should kind of be clear that you look and you go, yeah, that's the next level, like how Bird in a Dreams was originally when that was put up, and we got to see the sort of the small bits of footage that came originally, and then the final film, and when you had like Daniel and Dave and Jimmy out there trying it, and it looked absolutely desperate with them, and you're like, oh wow, and they're establishing all the hard stuff at the moment. So yeah, I think it should be something similar to that, where it's like it very clearly looks like the next step.
So this one that you're working on right now, that you're putting time in. Shit, by the time this comes out, you may have sent it. Will, you're moving too fast.
No.
No, you don't think so. But you feel, because my question was going to be, do you think you've pulled on to what could be a V18? And it sounds like the answer might be yes.
Ooh, that's a good question. Yeah, I think definitely. Question is it is it a good enough line to be the first? Though some like limestone sort of choss, but yeah, and I imagine in Switzerland some of the projects that we've kind of looked at and everything, when I've been there before, quite possibly could be as well. Um, I didn't pull onto it, but Shadow Play, which was meant to be an 8C boulder in the Peak District, which has got like a lot of mystery around it and everything. It seems like it could be kind of next level. I think holds broken stuff. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I've tried some stuff that has the potential to be, and probably I've looked at quite a lot of lines. I think specifically in Switzerland, where you're like, I could see a lot of these going, but they'd all be in that sort of 9A really hard grade range when you figure them out. I think they exist. I think they're around, and yeah, it's just a case of finding them. I mean,
All right, y'all, just a quick minute here to shout out today's sponsor, which is Scarpa. Oh, I'm so psyched. My very first pair of climbing shoes and approach shoes were by Scarpa, and I have loved them ever since. I'm so grateful that they're supporting the show here. Y'all, whether you are smearing granite like Amity Warm, towing into steep pockets like Matty Hong, bouncing from volume to volume like Nathaniel Coleman, or tossing crazy heel hooks like Alex Puccio, Scarpa has got you. They have been making the best footwear for peak performance as well as sustainability since 1938. They are here to take care of your adventures. You can shop the entire collection at scarpa.com. Scarpa, no place too far. Let's get back to the video.
it looks like what's Defying Gravity, the block in Colorado.
Yeah.
It looks. I saw like Nathaniel and Daniel were working like a sit start to that, and supposedly as that's meant to be like a one move 8C, like the first move's the 8C. It like any sort of moves into that, I would imagine would make that really hard. So that could be a really interesting project that's coming along. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting time.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's such a cool thought experiment, and you have the best perspective out there. There's a lot of really hard climbers. You just named a couple right there, but you've done more at that V17 grade than anybody else out there, and it does seem like there's, at least historically, a reluctance for climbers to give the next grade. And why do you think that is? When if what you're working on is clearly harder than the other stuff that you've done?
Well, I suppose part of it you could be thinking it may feel clearly harder to you, but you're like, especially in first ascents, because this is the thing, repeating can be quite different because you know it's possible, you know a sequence that works, you can look for other ones that might feel easier, but you know what the sequence was used to do it, whereas when you're first ascenting, it can be very easy to get like trapped into a sequence or something that you think's right, and then it might not even be your style of block. But like the boulder I've been trying today, just for in Glasgow, is it's only 3 moves basically it adds to this existing line, and there's not that many foot options, but I'm still really not sure if I have the right beat, and I've had quite a lot of sessions and I've tried lots of different things, and I've got a sequence that works. I could definitely do it this way, but I'm not sure someone will come along and then just find something completely easier. And currently I'm like, I kind of think it could be like potentially as 16, whereas, but then I'm like, maybe I should give it, maybe it's actually 15, maybe I'm doing something wrong, maybe there's, so I think, I don't know if it's necessarily like from any point of ego or anything. I think it's kind of just looking ahead thinking, I think this is really hard, but I've spent so much time, you kind of start to lose track, and maybe I'm not in the right sequence, and maybe it's better to give it this grade, wait for other people to come along, and then chat about it and see what everyone thinks. Because I guess you kind of want to try and be as accurate as you can. So
Yeah, totally. And there's just not that many people out there that can climb at the level to essentially understand or verify a grade. Have you been on Arrival of the Birds, or what was the Midnight Project? One of Aiden's tough.
No, I looked at that back. Dave, I think, showed it to me and Sean back in 2021, maybe. Because everything was wet, so we were just wandering around looking at different projects. I've not tried it. I've felt most of the holds. I'm going to be honest, I'm not super psyched for it. I feel like for me, because it's like quite like slotty the holds, I struggle to fit my fingers in super well, and it would cut my skin really bad. Aiden did try to say like, it's actually not as bad on the skin as it like first feels, but yeah, I worried to have like, it could be like I get like a couple goes a session or something. So currently it's not one that I'm super psyched on, but yeah, definitely at some point I'll probably go and check it out. The thing is, it's only like, where's it, Chronicle? Maybe 5 hours from Excalibur, so if I'm over there and the weather's terrible, I might drive around and have a play. I think that's what Sean was maybe doing last winter, so.
Hey, if you like this video, check out these here because they are banger, and also subscribe to the channel because I put out a fresh video every single week with one of the best rock climbers in the world. Let's go.